The next one will be Sonal, that I think she's really far from us. I'm not sure 100%, but she's from India. And she get in touch with us through the Starlight project. So it was a good connection thanks to our project. And she will tell us something about her project of astrotourism in India. Are you here, Sonal? Because I saw you before.
I am, yes.
Yeah, here you are. Welcome and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Remy. And hi, everyone. A very good evening from India. I'll just put up my presentation and Remy, just let me know if my screen is visible.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah, here you are.
So, hi, everyone. I know that today is your, I think, third webinar with Starlight. And, as much as, we can give small insights from the work that we do here in India. I think it would have been fantastic. I mean, I really envy you guys for all the insights and amazing information that you've had over all these webinars. So I'm here to talk about the current astrotourism scenario in India, our project Astro Stays. And, what future do we see here, especially in India with the current scenario? So I'm sure you already, because you're already on that path, you already kind of appreciate astronomy and how it always, has fascinated the civilization. So all civilizations, right from the Indus Valley civilization, where the Himalayas are based, to the Mayans, to the Greeks, have had some connect with the skies in some way or the other. And we in India have had a very deep and a very rich history with astronomy as well. The science of astronomy in India is called the Khagol Shastra. And we have had several scholars over the years who have had actually made a lot of advances in the field of astronomy. Even today, the Ladakh, the area in which we work, people actually use the pattern of skies for even, day-to-day chores like harvesting or navigation. So that connect and belief with the skies is still very strong even today. Now, astrotourism in recent years has seen a strong growth, particularly due to, really strong coverage by the mainstream media, and also because of a lot of advocacy done by, these societies like the International Dark Sky Association, who are working to mitigate light pollution. And in a post-COVID world, people are now actually looking to move from the hotspots, all of these tourism hotspots, to really these offbeat areas where they can not just connect with nature, but also connect with local communities. And astrotourism being one of the most authentic and sustainable forms of nature-based tourism, it presents a lot of opportunities, not just to create, positive economic benefits in the areas where astrotourism ventures can be set up, but also, social and creating livelihood opportunities as well. So, as we move further in the presentation, I would actually, talk about a case study of a project that we work on how astrotourism can actually be used, beyond just, astrophotography and the traditional astrotourism to create a sustainable model which can actually benefit the local communities and add them into the tourism value chain as well. So before that, India is a huge country, and there are so many places in India which are amazing for stargazing. And the trend of astrotourism has picked up a lot in the recent years in India. Now, starting from north in the Himalayas in Ladakh, where we work, this is a picture of Pangong Tso. Again, all of these are deep space images, and these are areas where things like Milky Way and all of these beautiful celestial objects are visible even with naked eye. Then moving further to the west, we have places like Gujarat, where Run of Kutch again is an amazing area, which again has a lot of astrotourism ventures that are coming up because the skies are incredible and beautiful. Back down in south, again, we have these Andaman and Nicobar Islands, really remote, but there is a certain tourism footfall that had started in these islands as well, and they are again a hotspot for developing astrotourism. We have this area called Madhya Pradesh. Again, it's just to kind of give you a glimpse of area of the, the breadth and length of how huge our country is. And we really have all of these beautiful areas with amazing skies in north, south, east, and west, where these astrotourism ventures are, coming up. And again, in north, we have this area called Himachal Pradesh, which is very, very, again, close to Ladakh. And the Himalayan chain runs through them as well. And again, with the beautiful skies, astrotourism has actually become a huge trend here. So these are just some of the areas in India where it is coming up. Now, astrotourism traditionally, now, if you talk to a layman about astrotourism, generally it would revolve around scientific experiences, for example, going to observatories or planetariums, or it would also encompass heritage astronomies, which would essentially mean going to the heritage astronomy sites. And we have lots of them in India. The one that you see on your screen right now is called the Jantar Mantar in New Delhi, which was like the sundial, a huge sundial, which was for measuring time, etc. So, and this is also part of, a form of astrotourism where not just astrotourists, but even mainstream tourists who are kind of interested to have these kind of experiences and learn about culture and heritage as well are really interested too. And of course, astrophotography is, one of the major elements of astrotourism, where, these sessions are either led by amateur astronomers who are really good at astrophotography, or even common citizens who who are well versed with astronomy and all of these celestial bodies and are able to do that kind of astrophotography. And then and finally, there are all of these, phenomena recently, which have been kind of really highlighted by the mainstream media as well, where people are actually traveling, far and wide, for example, to chase eclipses, meteor showers, etc. So all of these are different kinds of astrotourism, if I can say, which kind of attract people and tourists from far and wide. And what we've also seen is that it is not always a niche astrotourist who would like to participate in all of these activities, but there are people from the mainstream tourism world as well who actually want to have these kind of experiences. Now, that being said, one of the things that we saw in recent year was that, like I said, that the best vantage points for astrotourism are generally rural and remote. But we've also seen is that because astrotourism is mainly limited either towards scientific institutions, which are observatories and planetariums, or they are led by amateur astronomers. All of these people in rural and remote areas, which have access to, beautiful night skies, just because they don't really have those skills of astrotourism, because astrotourism is not just tourism, it is astronomy and tourism. So you not just need to have the skills of astronomy, basic knowledge and know-how of science and astronomy and a little bit of STEM essential skills, but also tourism and, hospitality. So it's both of these combined, which kind of creates those unique experiences for travelers. So through our project, so I'll just take you to a journey to the Himalayas, where I'll talk about our project Astro Stays on how we integrated the local communities as part of a astrotourism model. So the Himalayas, I don't think I really need to say much, but they are beautiful, picturesque, and they are thronged by tourists from far and wide, mainly for the ones who are coming to connect with nature. People generally come here to trek, to participate in local festivals. But one of the really untapped resources and assets that we thought that Himalayas have and that has still not been tapped are their clear night skies. I mean, there are people, astrophotographers or amateur astronomers who kind of visit Himalayas, take these beautiful pictures, maybe camp for a day or two. But there isn't really a sustainable model that was created, which could actually attract people from far and wide and create a destination which kind of revolved around astrotourism. So this project was essentially to explore that. So to begin with, we started with around 35 women who were selected and identified from 15 different villages in Ladakh. Why women? It wasn't a conscious decision. The thing is that in Ladakh, the tourism season generally kind of is there from April to October, and the rest of the months, because it's so cold, it's kind of cut off from the mainland India. So most of these women are run homestays back in their villages and the remote areas, and are homestay owners. So when we kind of wanted to start this project, we had a huge volunteering from the women who wanted to say that they would also like to be trained on basics of astronomy and start something in astrotourism in their area. So what you see on your screens are pictures of some of the workshops that are happening. And just one thing that I wanted to mention here was that most of the audience that we had and most of the local community members that we had, they had absolutely zero to very minor background in science and astronomy. So the way we started really was to connect with their existing belief systems, because, like I said, that every civilization has some connect with the skies, etc. So even today, the local Ladakhi folks, they use the pattern of skies to see when do they start harvesting, or because it's a huge area, people often tend to get lost. So again, the pattern of stars comes handy when they have to kind of travel or look for navigation. So we started on that and kind of built on how it actually connects with the science, and started, explaining planets and constellations, basically really starting small and equipping them with all of these skills. And we also kind of started giving them these tools like Stellarium and Sky Map for them to kind of assess what kind of objects are there in the sky, when they start their stargazing experiences. Because, the journey for them to really start on this path was a little slow, because we started small. Like I said, all of these, community members and the women were not really initiated in science, but it was really their first project, which kind of forayed them into astrotourism and STEM as such. So we kind of give them a list of all of these objects by giving them a sky map at the end, at the beginning of a month. And they kind of look at the objects that are there in the sky for that month, and kind of also to set the expectations for the travelers. And we call and all of our team members astropreneurs. This is a picture of one of them, doing the telescope alignment, and pictures of some of the astronomy sessions. And these are the homestays. Astrotourism kind of also necessitates that there are overnight accommodations, because, people are coming from far and wide to participate in these stargazing or dark sky experiences. So it is beneficial, if there are homestay or some accommodations that are also available, that the people who are coming or the travelers who are coming to participate in the stargazing sessions can also use. So the revenue started coming not just from the stargazing or the dark sky experiences, but it also started coming from the accommodations that these travelers and tourists started to use. 2020, 2021, when the world was hit with COVID, things were down at the Astrosays as well. But the good thing was, because it was a community-led model, there was some portion of money that was actually going as a community fund. So that money was starting to being pumped back for community development. So what you see are pictures of some of solar heaters being put up and greenhouses, etc. The last year, we kind of evolved this astrotourism model to make it more holistic and add more elements into the entire model. Now, because I said that, the local community members are an integral part of the entire astrotourism model. We also wanted to ensure that, if there are more elements that we can add to create a more integrated and a holistic experience for the travelers as well, and also something that's mutually beneficial for the women and the community folks that are running these programs, that will be a win-win situation for both of them. So what we also did was we set up something called a Cosmo Hub, which is again a women-led program. So one second. So we kind of built an experiential center, a small astro museum, which kind of talked about astronomy not just from the lens of science, but also from the lens of local culture. So Tibet, for example, has a Tibet and Buddhism, they have a huge, rich connection with stars and with cosmology as well. So in this experiential center that we built, there is so as you kind of usher into, there is this small museum which the travelers are taken through, and it talks about, the cultural astronomy, what it really means to them in, Ladakh or Buddhism, and what the science part of it is. And the other element is, so all these ladies who run the astrotourism experience are also really great at weaving. So we also had a small souvenir room, again, which kind of, houses the products, the handicrafts that are created by these women. And it has a very personal touch. So for example, they'll weave a little sun in one of the pashmina shawls, or they'll weave a small constellation or a solar system, so that the traveler who's actually buying from the Cosmo Hub also kind of gets to have a little memory of, the experience that the person had. And there's also Ladakhi cuisine that is served because, it's a nighttime experience and people kind of travel for, 20-30 minutes from a close by area to the Cosmo Hub. This also kind of gives an opportunity for the ladies to cook, local food, which people actually really relish, and serve it at the Cosmo Hub along with the stargazing experiences. So this is a picture of one of the tourists who have kind of come into the Cosmo Hub. And this has been the impact that we have had so far. We have, the Astrostace is practically run for a couple of years because we didn't really have any operations in 2020 and 2021. The difference between, astrotourism and, I would say community-led astrotourism is that you can actually measure impact here. In astrotourism, if it revolves mostly around, taking people to planetariums, or taking people for, chasing an eclipse or a meteor shower, it does create a beautiful experience for the travelers. It's amazing, out of the world. But I think if you really have to create a sustainable model out of it, where it is beneficial not just for the person who is running that venture, but also for the communities, or the team that gets involved into it, it's really important, that you add elements that are able to sustain that tourism model. And that is something that we tried to do with Astrostace. And this is a vision that we have to, identify more potential destinations, because there are so many remote and rural areas, again, which have, local communities with beautiful skies, where these model can be replicated. So we're trying to identify that. We're also looking at, kind of collaborating with national parks, because wildlife economy is obviously one of the huge elements that, the national parks have, but training rangers and guides on astrotourism can also be kind of an add-on to the experience that they are giving to their travelers as well.